Blackburn Rovers looking to make it back-to-back away day wins this weekend as they take on Plymouth over in the South Coast. Of course, can they get away with it? We'll take a little look next. Looking forward to Blackburn Rovers' latest away day. That is, of course, going down to Plymouth. The long trip. Of course, we'll get to that shortly. Of course, if you're new, where you been, smash your subscribe button back and see all things Rovers related, Championship related, World Football related. We got it all here, boys. Under one Rooski. That's right, Rovers bouncing at the minute, following a bit of a surprise win against Watford this past weekend over at Vicarage Road. But today, we're focusing on the next one. An even longer away trip, getting some miles in that new coach as we take on Plymouth. We'll get to that shortly, of course. A big shout out to the VIPs. They are the patrons, you know who you are. But anyway, let's get into it and, of course, preview the game against this lot. Of course, it's the Green Army. It is Plymouth Argyle. Let's take a closer look at them with Stephen Schumacher, the baby, 39 years of age, goodness gracious me. On a long contract to 2027. He's got a good success rate at the moment, 1.98 points per match. And of course, they're putting a lot of faith in this guy, Luke Kundle, who is their most valuable player currently, around about €3 million. Their roster, 29 players on the books, 7 foreigners, 2 internationals or national players with an average age of 24. Let's take a look at some of those players then, with the likes of Cooper competing for Hazard, who isn't the number one at the moment. Then we've got Pazzaguizzo, who was a signing this summer from FC20. Lewis Gibson, Macaulay Gillespie, Dan Scar, amongst others. Into midfield, the likes of Adam Randall, of course, Matt Butcher. We've got Kessler Hayden as well, Ballymumba, amongst others. And up top, we've got the likes of Morgan Whittaker and Ryan Hardy, who has been amongst the goals so far. Let's take a look at those records right here, right now. Ryan Hardy and Morgan Whittaker with 3 goals or assists combined. And of course, Ballymumba and Kessler Hayden also contributing to the goal scoring departments there. Of course, the most valuable player at the minute, I would say, is Morgan Whittaker with an average rate of 7.53 thus far, with everybody else playing catch-up. Quick look at the old stats then, shall we? For this one, 4 games played thus far for Plymouth, scoring 5 goals, which is around about an average of 1.3 goals per match. They've also conceded 5 as well, so take from that from what you will. No penalties thus far. They've hit the woodwork a couple of times, and they have an average possession rate of around about 47.8, and no red cards to the books thus far as well. Look at the resume heading into this game, predominantly focusing on the league. Of course, they are in cup action this week. Coming to us on the way, that 2-1 loss to Birmingham, who are flying high, so no disrespect to that game. Prior to that, a last home defeat. Of course, the last time they were at home was a 2-1 loss to Southampton. Prior to that, though, a good draw against Watford, a big win against Leyton Orient in the Cup, and, of course, an opening day win against Huddersfield Town. Following on from this game, and, of course, following on from the international break, they'll take on Preston and then Bristol City back-to-back away games. Then, of course, switching back to home turf up against Norwich. And then, of course, another couple of Hull City away, and then Millwall to complete the 5-piece. This is how I expect them to line up here with, of course, a 4-3-3 formation. We've got Hazard between the sticks, got Kessler at the Kessler Hayden at the left back, got Gibson, Scar, and Edwards with Houghton, Randall, and Wright in midfield. Ballymumba on the left, Whittaker on the right, Hardy down the middle to score the goals. Let's take a look at the Rovers then, shall we? Of course, with JDT at the helm for the time being. Or anyway, he, of course, unhappy at the minute with the transfer shenanigans, as we all are. But he has a 1.65 points per match ratio. Tyree Stoner is the most valuable player on the books, according to transfermarket.com. And of course, our team at the bottom there just fluctuates. One week it's 27 players, one week it's 26 players with an average age of 23.3. 1 national player, 8 foreigners, of course, right here and now. That number could change between now and, of course, kick-off with the transfer window happening or shutting on a Friday. This is, of course, a quick look at the players we have on the books right here, right now. Wallstadt, probably not going to play this week, well, in this game anyway. He'll probably play in the Cup. Got Pears, who did a fantastic job keeping out Watford at Vicarage Road. Into defence, we may see Pickering coming back. We got Wharton, Carter, Callum Brittenham, and Dom Hyam, of course, competing for the defensive numbers. Into midfield, of course, the worldie that was Ryan Hedges last week. He should be in the squad. Sigerson's still a bit away. Buckley, question marks about him, whether he will be not a Rovers player come kickoff of this match. And then up top, Gallagher. No Ennis this week. He is injured, so he will be out. So he misses a reunion with his old teammates at Plymouth. Of course, let's take a look at where the goals have come from. Smodic still up there with 3 goals. We've got Hedges, Gallagher, Markindale, Leonard, Wharton and Travis getting involved in one way or another. The top player right here, right now, though, is Ryan Hedges with a 7.38 average. Just absolutely crazy stuff with Dom Hyam up there, Adam Wharton, Travis and Smodic in the power 5. Of course, let's take a look at some other stats and figures. Of course, 6.95 average at the minute for Rovers. We have played 4 games, scoring 6 goals, conceding just 5, with an average of 1.5 goals per match. We've hit the woodwork twice. We've had our first red card. Of course, Pickering was the unlucky fellow to get that red card. But average possession, 53% heading into this. Quick look at the start. Whoa. Not yet. Of course, heading out of this game and into from the international break, we'll take on Middlesbrough and then Sunderland back-to-back home games before we're a tricky one down at Ipswich and then Leicester City back at Ewood Park. Following on that, it is, of course, Coventry. In amongst all that, we may or may not have another Carabao Cup match, depending on what goes on with Harrogate this week. I am recording this pre-Harrogate. Of course, 1-0 win for Rovers against Watford most recently. Of course, a 2-1 shambles, though, against Hull, still ringing on our ears, and a draw against Rotherham. Of course, we did open up with a win over West Brom and a win against Walsall in the Cup. Now, let's take a look at my 11 for this one. It mostly picks itself. I think Pears stays at number 1. I thought he was phenomenal against Watford, and I don't usually say that. I'm not his biggest fan, but I thought he at least deserves to stick around. Callum Britton also does enough to, I think, at the minute, keep out Pickering on his return, because I thought he was immense on that left-hand side. He's only, Costello is holding, J. Rocky Costello's holding down the right back spot for the time being. But it is not the ideal scenario. Ideally, I think we need another left back, if we're going to be completely honest with you, because Callum Britton, for me, I don't like him being as a left back. It worked for Watford, and I think it will work hopefully against Plymouth, but long term we do need a backup for that spot. Hyam, of course, Carter, they picked themselves. Travis was covered every blade of grass, as Adam Wharton as well, creative. Smodic, of course, then Gallagher, Dolan on the left for the time being, Hedges, of course, Waldy keeps him in the squad on the right-hand side. Let's take a look at these two teams then. Their form, of course, is respected by the graphics up here. Of course, 3 games without a win now for Plymouth. The last win was against Leyton Orient. As for Rovers, just 1 defeat in the past, 5, of course. So a good start to the campaign. But a closer inspection of the team shows you that Rovers have quite a tasty-looking squad with a value around about 54 million euros compared to the 17 million euros of a Plymouth Argyle squad. So there is a bit of a gulf there. But on the pitch, I don't think there's too much of a gulf at the time being. 23.9 average is your player. And again, we have more national team players than they do. They have 4 youth. They have 8 foreigners compared to our 9 as well. Let's take a look at what the forecast says for this game. In recent times, since 2017, we played each other twice. Plymouth have beaten us once. We have not beaten them, and there's been a draw as well. 2-0 win was their win. They scored 3 goals compared to our 1 with a 1.50 goal game ratio. That's for Rovers, just a 0.50 goal game ratio. Of course, Plymouth come into this without a win in 3, 42% form for them over the last 6, 58% form though for Rovers, and just 1 defeat the past 5 for them. The odds though, 8-5 is your Plymouth. We've got 31-20 is your Rovers, and 12-5 is the draw here. A quick look at those recent encounters there. 2-0 win back in League One, of course, Ramirez and Taylor on the score sheet. However, we did manage to draw against a tricky Plymouth back in October that year. Dak and Carey on the score sheet, respective teams. Rovers, though, away form, unbeaten so far this season away. Of course, a draw and a win over Watford. As for Plymouth's home form, a couple of wins and a defeat to boot. A closer look, though, at this game. Of course, there was a massive 20-year gap since we last played them. I think, give or take, 15-year gap, perhaps. But if you roll the clocks back a long time, back to the 90s and the 80s, you can see Rovers doing A-OK against them. We got 1, 2, 3. We went on a nice, good unbeaten run, 6-game unbeaten run against them, free scoring as well. So we'd like to see some of those return. So not many Plymouth victories in there, if we're going to be completely honest. Maybe 2, I think I could see in there if I am lucky with my eyesight. Maybe 3. I'll give you 3. Of course, this is what we can expect from this match. Of course, Plymouth's strengths is shooting from free kicks, counter-attacks is creating chances through individual skill and protecting the lead. As for the weaknesses, though, stopping opponents from creating chances, defending set pieces, aerial duels, and defending against skillful players. Their style of play, though, long shots, lots of them as well. Through balls, creating through balls often, attacking down the middle. They play non-aggressive, the offside trap, and they also like playing in their own half. Rovers, though, our strengths are counter-attacks, creating chances through individual skill, coming back from losing positions, protecting the lead, stopping opponents from creating chances. Our weaknesses, of course, defending against long long shots, defending against through balls, defending in set pieces, aerial duels, avoiding fouling in dangerous areas. Their style of play, our style of play, attacking down the right, consistent first 11, playing in our own half, and allowing opponents to play aggressively against us. The forecast: Plymouth will score from a free kick, Rovers will score from a result of individual skill. This is what else is going on in the Championship this coming weekend as well. 2 or 3 early kickoffs there. Sunderland against Southampton, Swansea against Bristol City, Birmingham against Millwall, then the 3 o'clock kickoffs with Ipswich against Cardiff, Rotherham against Norwich, Coventry, Watford, Leeds, Sheffield Wednesday, Leicester, Hull, Stoke, Preston, Middlesbrough, QPR, and West Brom, Huddersfield. But the game of the weekend is, of course, down in Plymouth. It is Plymouth Argyle, the Green Army against Rovers. And, of course, we'll be there with a watch-along, and I doubt we'll get a vlog on this one because it's a long way to go. Quick look at the overall rankings here in the Championship goal scorer. Armstrong's up there with 4 alongside Rowe and Tufan, with Che Adams, Vignal, Sargent, Ugbo, Hardy's up there in the top 10, Connolly and Dewsbury, Hall, the key assist makers, Patino, Frankie Janssen, Manning, Wilmot and O'Dowda for Cardiff, of course. A quick look at the table as well as we look at this. Rovers are in 9th, Plymouth are in 16th, but of course both Plymouth can actually leapfrog Rovers with a victory and everything else going their way this coming weekend. And if we are going to be pushed for a prediction for this game, I'm stupidly, unfortunately, I'm confident for this one. I think we're gonna take that enthusiastic stuff from the weekend against Watford, and I'm hoping, and again begrudgingly, hopeful for a positive end to the transfer window. And I think Rovers are going to squeak this one, 2-1 win to end this little stint of the season in good shape. And, of course, kicking on forward to the international break and getting some players like Sigurdsson and others back to full fitness. So I'm going to go with a cheeky 2-1 win. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down below. And then we'll, of course, we'll check back to see if you guys anyone got it right. And, again, don't forget to keep up to date with the other content for the Championship. We've got the podcast, the prediction show, and everything else. And, again, non-stop shop here with Plymouth Argyle, the focus this week. So until then, subscribe, thumbs up, hit the little bell, and, of course, catch you later for the next one, whenever that is.